were recognized by President Obama as instruments of change. They're ecopreneurs, is that correct?
Sure.
And so we have Clay and Chris. I'm going to really let them introduce themselves because I don't think I could do them justice.
Awesome. My name is Chris Castro. As mentioned, I'm an ecopreneur and basically helped to start a couple of different companies here in Central Florida. One that both Clay and I both work with. I'll let Clay introduce himself real quick.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Good morning. I'm Clayton Fererra. I'm a biologist. I'm also an alumni of Rollins, and I'm really happy to be here. We've got some awesome stuff to talk to you about today. So I'll turn it back to Chris.
Nice call on Rollins. I'm an alumni of UCF and studied also environmental studies and energy and sustainability. So both of us are really, really engaged in Central Florida, across the entire state, and even nationally with the movement of sustainability. And the organization that we're here representing today is called I.D.E.A.S, which is an acronym that stands for Intellectual Decisions on Environmental Awareness Solutions. And back in 2008, me and a group of students at UCF decided to kind of come together and take action to solve environmental problems on campus. And
so today our goal is to really talk to you all about how to formulate some ideas of where we are in the world and where we want to go with them. So we do this type of icebreaker. It's called the Great Transition. And there's a few different questions that we're going to ask you. And we want you to think about all of humanity when we ask these questions. Not any particular group of people, not an age, just humanity as a whole. So there's 3 questions. Here's the first one. The first one basically says that if you look at humanity as a whole, what life stage are we in? The adolescent stage. Ooh, man, look at that. Majority may rule here.
Yeah.
All right, too many to count.
for adolescents, we're kind of being rebellious. We don't really care about our impacts. We're not really thinking about how we're impacting the world, right? The second question goes into whether or not, in order to transition these life stages to go from an adult or to go from an adolescent to adult, there has to be kind of a change, right? There has to be either a global consciousness change or some type of shift. And oftentimes, we ask whether or not there's kind of a shift going on mentally.
How about sorta? Very nice, okay. Awake, but maybe not out of the bed, okay. All right, so again, we have the consensus of kind of being in the middle of the road. The global brain is kind of awakening. All right, that's important. Well, the last one is interesting. If you look at different indigenous cultures around the world, there is a concept that they all have a different interpretation of, usually. And this is the concept of going through a rite of passage, okay? And just transitioning away on our adventure. All right, pretty good amount. Who thinks that we are in the battle, that we are being tested on our adventure right now as humanity? All right. Is that whether you were talking to, an old woman in Europe to someone in a loincloth in Papua New Guinea, they all say the exact same thing that you said here tonight by majority. So we all seem to be in this kind of situation of, well, we know that we're an adolescent and things are going wrong with the world. We know that we're sort of awake and everyone's not really even doing a lot, maybe even ourselves. And we also know that we're in a period of being tested. So that's a pretty big deal if all of humanity collectively thinks that and we're not really doing much. So what Chris and I do is we're in the business of figuring out how to get people like yourselves and everyone else to come up with these ideas for all of us.
World.
So,
and the overall goal of this is to get our generation to stand up and take action towards the environmental problems that we're facing, whether they're energy related, water, food, environmental, ecology based, and waste based. So these are kind of our 5 major pillars. And within them, we have activities that students like yourself have created and have shown a success and a result, and then have shared across a network of these groups at high schools, universities, and communities around the world. And for the past 3 months, we've actually been hosting these Hive events, and many projects have been coming out of them. One of them, for instance, was an initiative that we focused on ecology, that one pillar, right, ecology. And we said that Little Wekiva River is an incredible river and part of a huge watershed that right now is being completely devastated, not only from runoff, from high amounts of fertilizers and pollution that's causing these huge algal blooms and also species to die off. So what we decided to do is go in and take 40 people on 20 canoes and literally go down the Little Hive River and completely eradicate trash as well as invasive species. And it was an entire action project that we went to on a weekend that anybody was able to come and be a part of. Huge success, and we filmed it all, we took a bunch of pictures, and Orlando Magazine is actually looking to highlight the project. The second one was about food, and we saw that there's a huge need to address local food poverty in this community. Believe it or not, there are people who are starving, not only in Africa, but here in Orlando. And so we said, how do we actually create a solution for local food poverty that's creative? And what we did is we took a tour of something called an aquaponics urban garden. For those of you who don't know, aquaponics is the combination of growing fish, or aquaculture, and hydroponics, growing plants without soil. And this closed loop system is a recirculating system where we actually get fish waste to feed the plants as a fertilizer. The plants clean the water that goes back to the fish, and you have this beautiful closed loop cycle. And all of a sudden, your plants are growing 4 and 5 times faster than in the ground, and you're growing protein in the form of fish, right? Tilapia and different fish that you can eat. So it's a win-win situation, kind of funded in a creative way. But my part of the talk talked about how organizations basically can use models of replication, right? And we talked about the difference between a bacteria and a virus, where ultimately a virus needs a host in order to continue to survive, right? Where a bacteria can grow on pretty much non-living surfaces. And what we've done with I.D.E.A.S is used academic institutions as our hosts to provide these chapters as a registered group, funding, resources, academic resources from professors, and other links that universities have in order for them to establish their projects. So we help university students and schools establish a registered group, and as a registered group, they're able to use the university's 501c3 number as well to fundraise, and that's individually how we've gone. Now as we evolve, and we just got our 501c3 number, we're going to be able to be a conduit to allocate funds to student projects throughout our movement around the world. And so that's what we're really very excited about. We're talking now with investors who are interested in funding student projects, really funding student projects and making them happen and spreading them because they see the opportunity of our movement and our network of these groups at schools and universities. We had a student at UCF who's now at Vermont Law School, and she saw the same thing. She said, you know what, we need to have ideas for policy. She literally created this initiative called Ideas for Policy. And what she's doing now is she's at a law school, and so she's like, how can an ideas chapter at a law school really engage our law students? And she now created a think tank for these law students in all different realms of the legal industry. And what we're doing is looking at bills, current bills that are hindering our way of moving forward in progress. And she's using their knowledge of what they're learning in class to write amendments to these bills, right, to switch them up. And then working with their local legislature in order to help push them and get sponsors behind them to push them in the state legislature and stuff. So this model of Ideas for Policy now is going to begin replicating. We're now building it at UGA Law. We're looking to replicate to other law schools and use the model of bringing ideas together to look at these bills, write amendments, and obviously
Policies and laws that are in place that really are impeding progress, and particularly sustainability, need to not be there. So, as Chris mentioned, the best thing that you can do is power numbers. Power numbers, make a campaign. We're young. Use the assets that we have, you know? People who have millions of dollars to fund campaigns to do really shady stuff like Monsanto are powerless against people making memes and social media and street art and all of this stuff. They have no capacity to combat against that.
we've worked on many things, from the bill that I just mentioned about the fertilizer. It's called Total Maximum Daily Load. It's a nutrient criteria standard that's now trying to be pushed throughout the state of Florida so that our agriculture and even our lawns, our home lawns, are minimizing the amount of fertilizer and runoff that's going into the watershed that's ultimately causing problems in our rivers and our waterways, right? So we try to rally our groups around some of those major political actions. Like, for instance, 2 weeks ago we did a rally with Sierra Club, and they're more of the 501c6 political activism type of organization, whereas we're kind of the more, hey, let's create solutions and implement them regardless of the policy. And so it's about being creative about those hurdles.
Thank you so much. We do have to go because we won't make it back to school.
Thank you.
But we are gonna invite these guys to our school to talk about starting an ideas chapter, and we can exchange ideas.
Sure.
We actually do what you do through service learning.
Exactly. No, that's
So,
why it's a beautiful marriage.
It's a perfect partnership, and we'd love to have you come.